Hey, what's going on there? This is Ron K. Armstrong, filmmaker extraordinaire, with another video for you. And in this video, I want to talk about how to pitch to producers and agents. But first, hit that like button. And if this is your first time to my channel, hit the subscribe button to get notifications on when I go live and when I upload recorded videos. So let's get into this. I try to at least once a week pitch to producers, agents, and managers. And there's several reasons for that. One is because I'm, selling my IP, my intellectual property. The other is the more you pitch, the better you become at it. And each time you pitch, we do what we call is calibrate, meaning you're looking at the producer, the agent, and you're seeing what works by the subtle nuances in their face, whether they smile or they look away, and you're adapting to that. So the more you pitch, the better you become. In fact, there was an actress that I was coaching, and she asked me, what could increase her chances of getting a role? And I said, well, how many auditions do you go on? She says, well, I try to really target the ones that the character fits me and I like. And I said, no, you should go to every audition as possible, because auditioning is different than acting in a movie or in the theater. Auditioning is an art in and of itself. And the more you audition, the more you get into the momentum and you start to calibrate to the right things. So you can calibrate to all the wrong things. And that can typically happen when you don't audition enough or you are bad at reading signals. So pitching is it's exactly the same way. You are pitching your project to producers. You are reading them. We call this sub-communication. You're reading the nuances. You're adapting. And this is all an unconscious process. It's not something you consciously think about it. And this is why you adapt and you get better. And then comes along what I just said is momentum. Momentum is very important. And what momentum does is it takes you from that novice to that expert, meaning that you may start off and be a little bit nervous, unsure of yourself, have some doubts. But when momentum kicks in, you then get into a type of, let me see what the word I want. I want to say flow, but we haven't come to that yet. But we'll just say you get into a rhythm and it becomes easy for you and you'll notice it. And then flow starts to happen. Flow is when you are doing it and you're excited and you're so caught up in it that you lose awareness of time and space. And that's when you become really an expert in that area. So pitching is the exact same way. So as I said before, there's two reasons why I pitch every week. Number one, I'm trying to sell my IP. Number two, I'm trying to perfect it as much as possible. Now, there are two ways to pitch. You can pitch through, actually three ways. Let me go over that. There's the in-person pitch that you'll meet with the producer, agent, talent manager, or what have you. Or there is the Skype or Zoom you'll pitch, where you'll see them. And then there's the third one, which is the phone call, where you can actually pitch on the phone or through, the voice through Skype. Now, when you start out, I think the best way to go about it, and the best way that I've learned, is just to try and get the pitches that afford you an opportunity to do it over the phone. Because if you start right away doing it in person, it can be a nerve-wracking experience. Because a lot of times we as artists, actors, filmmakers, what have you, writers, we think that all is riding on selling this screenplay or our movie. And we get so wrapped up into it that we psych ourselves out. We get nervous. And then when we're pitching in front of that producer or that executive, any little nuance in their behavior can trip us up because we're so hypersensitive. And sometimes an executive or a producer could be just taking notes or something that may have caught their attention. They look away. And because that's self-communication, you'll read it as disinterest. And that will hamper you and cause you to change course in the way you pitch. Now, some people are very immune to this. They're so caught up into their frame, so we call it, their world, that doesn't matter what the other person's doing, they still maintain their state, is what we call it, their state. But other individuals like us, like me, it's very hard to maintain my frame. And the frame is your perspective. Your frame is your, let's say, your state, how energized you are, and passionate are you about your project. It's hard to maintain that state if you feel that the producer or executive is not giving you their full and undivided attention. And they may actually be doing that, but because, as I said, the little things that they're doing, you may misread that, all right? And it will totally throw you off. So I advise, if you can, starting right away, do it over the phone where you can't see their face, and have index cards to keep your notes for your pitch. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over your format real just briefly. So you'll have something, you'll have these bullet points as a frame or template to adhere to. But if you want to know more about pitching, more about the business, how to meet producers, executives, and talent agents, get my program. It's called Secret Movie Deal Program, and the link is below. Click on that link, and that program is packed full of information. You can get a lot of stuff that will help you to kickstart your career, pitching, meeting producers, how to negotiate your deals, everything in that program, secretmoviedeal.com. Sorry, secretmoviedealprogram.com. All right, so let's go into this. Now, this goes for pitching over the phone or in person or in a type of Zoom or Skype situation. Whether you can see them or not see them, this is the structure of what you want to adhere to. The first thing is going to be an introduction, and this is just small talk to get to know the producer wants to get to know you. So talk a little bit about your background, where you're located, your interests and things of that nature. Keep it short but sweet, keep it concise. Don't go off into a tangent, because you're only going to have a limited time, and most times they'll give you like 8 minutes or so to do your pitch. So give them a broad overview of your background. And it's just meant, again, to be filler and just for them to get an understanding of, are you really a writer? Or are you somebody who's just started out as a writer? Are you really a filmmaker? Did you go to film school? They just want to get to know all of those type of things. And I'll tell you why this is important a little later. All right, they're going to want to know what inspired you to write the script or shoot the film. Now, if you have a short film or a trailer, you'll be trying to pitch that idea. So they're going to want to know what was the inspiration for it. So you should address that right away. For case in point, with my film War is a Bitch, I'll say, well, my background is, I was in the military, so I really wanted to make a film, but it wanted to focus on women in the military and things of that nature, and that's key. So give them that little nugget of information. Next, and just as important, and which ties into what inspired you to make it, and I can't emphasize how important this is. What special talent makes you equipped to address this subject matter? They want to know that. Let us say I'm a criminologist, right? And I'm writing a screenplay about a serial killer and detectives that are on his trail. The mere fact that I'm a criminologist means I have special insight and knowledge into the subject matter. And that's going to it's going to be looked upon very favorable by the producers. They're going to go, wow, so this person is going to have a really authentic script, and we're going to get an insight as to this whole world. So that's very important to talk about that background talent that you have that makes you key. And the reason for that is two reasons. Number one, of course, they can see you providing insight, a deeper insight into this world. And number two, it securely attaches you to the project. And that's super, super important, because I'll tell you why. In Hollywood, whether you're pitching your film, your screenplay, whatever, there's this thing called development. And what happens in development is that writers are removed, new writers are hired. So you could sell your script, it'll go into development, and they'll attach new writers to it. So the first draft may have been yours, but by the 8th draft, it's no longer your material. It's been rewritten by 4 writers. And that's the whole thing where you'll need to negotiate to make sure you get writing credit for the first draft. But that's how it works. But if you have special talents that tie you to that project, there's a less likelihood of them bringing on somebody else aboard and removing you. So keep that in mind, okay? The next thing is, after you cite that, you want to go into your log line. And your log line is a sentence no more than 25 words that really encapsulate what the script is about. If you want to know how to put your log line together and know more about that, again, check out my program, Secret Movie Deal Program. After you do your log line, go right into your pitch. Now, the pitch should be packed full of passion. It should be a roller coaster ride. You're not reading, you're not monotone, you're going up, down, creating excitement, different inflections in your voice, trying to wrap them up into your frame, your world. And you may have not so good writing, but if you're a great orator or a great storyteller, then that will take you far. So I advise you practice your pitch in front of a mirror. Continually practice as much as possible. But as I said before, try to do as many pitches as you can because you want to, number one, get into that momentum. But before you get in the momentum, you need to calibrate. Calibrate, momentum, then flow. And then when you're in that flow, they're going to love you. Now, after the pitch, there's a Q&A. Now, pay close attention to the producer. If they don't have any questions for you, that's a bad sign. If they are intrigued with your project, they'll have some questions. And this is an opportunity to fill in any holes, because sometimes when you're pitching for 8 minutes, they don't catch everything. So they may ask you questions and you'll be thinking, well, I covered that in my pitch, but you just have to remind them. So answer their questions. And this is also an opportunity to push them to take it to the next level. Most times they'll say, I'll get back to you, because their job is they have a boss. So they'll write what we call coverage, and they'll submit that to their boss, and it'll be their recommendation whether to take this to the next level or not. And your job is to push them to get to that next level by answering their questions, make sure they don't walk away with any doubts, show your passion, and state your case, your final case for why you believe this should be on the big screen or cable or a movie of the week or streaming, what have you. State your case, but don't overstay your welcome. After that, close it out, you're done. Now, if you follow that format, you should be very, very successful, all right? Because everything in there are the details that you'll need to become an expert at pitching, all right? Most people pay a lot of money to go to boot camps or learn from professionals. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't, because there's some people out there who are dynamite pitchers and you can learn from them. But I really advise that, you practice in front of your friends, because that'll go a long way. And if you're doing that correctly and following this format, I don't think you really need to go to boot camps and pay professionals to help you pitch, okay? I don't think it'll be necessary. But anyway, that is how you pitch to producers, talent agents, and more. So thank you. This is Ron K. Armstrong, filmmaker extraordinaire. Until my next video, keep making films.